Hello class, and welcome to step 3 of our Introduction to Spatial Data, Error, and Uncertainty lab. In this step, what we're going to do is explore how the fuzzy boundary that we created in step 2 impacts the parcel boundaries. So, as you recall from step 2, if we go back into ArcGIS, I've changed my symbology a little bit so that there's more contrast. We created this fuzzy boundary. This is the boundary that is potentially impacted by error in that FEMA flood zone map. So the FEMA flood zone map has a stated positional accuracy of plus or minus 38 feet. What happens when you create a buffer that's just outside 38 feet and just inside 38 feet? That's the area that has fuzziness around it, and it's our uncertain area. So which parcels might be influenced by that? And in this step of the lab, we get to explore the select by location tools. Now, if you recall from a few weeks ago, it feels like a few years ago, we explored select by location. And what select by location does is it selects features from a target layer that has a spatial relationship with the source layer. So the target layer is going to be our parcels. And we want to select those parcels that intersect the fuzzy boundary. So if you recall from, it seems like a year ago, but it was just a few weeks ago when we explored the select by location tool. What the select by location tool does, or the select by location options, it allows us to select features in an attribute table based on a spatial relationship with the target layer. And these different spatial relationships are based on the varied topological relationships that can exist between layers. So we're going to focus on intersect, and we are going to select those parcels that intersect the fuzzy boundary. When you click OK and apply, you will have a selected set in your parcel attribute table that shows those parcels that have that particular spatial relationship that we selected, which is intersect. These intersect this fuzzy boundary. So these are the parcels that intersect the fuzzy boundary. And if we go back into our lab, the question is how many parcels intersect the uncertain area using select by location? And what is the total area of those parcels that intersect using select by location? And then we're going to do the step again using completely within and ask those same questions, calculate the area. So if we open the attribute table for the Long Beach parcel tax roll and open its attribute table, you'll see that 3,509 parcels have been selected. There's 3,000 parcels, 3,509 parcels that are potentially impacted by this fuzzy boundary. Well, let's see what the total area is. So I've added fields to your attribute table for you and calculated area in square meters, square kilometers, and acres for ease of calculation. So let's calculate the total area that's affected in square meters. Go to statistics and sum, and that is the total area in square meters of parcels that are potentially impacted by uncertainty or error in the FEMA flood zone maps. You can record that for your lab answers. Here's the answer for square kilometers, statistics, and the sum is 81 square kilometers or so, 81.378. And then here's the sum in acres. So that's the answer for how many parcels are impacted based on an intersect using select by location. Let's see how that changes by changing the spatial selection method. So let's change the spatial selection method to are completely within. So which parcels are completely within the source layer? Change it to are completely within the source layer. So which Long Beach parcels are completely within the fuzzy boundary? So are there parcels that fall completely within this plus or minus 38 feet? And how many of those are there? So if we click apply, it'll select a different selection from the Long Beach parcels attribute table. And there are much fewer parcels that are selected. Remember, I'm zoomed in, I'm going to open my attribute table, and there's only 200 parcels that are completely within. So the select by location query that you choose impacts what you're going to identify as parcels that are potentially impacted by what we don't know or our uncertainty in the FEMA flood zone boundaries. So if we go back to, you can just show those 200 if you want. You can toggle between here. The lab asks you what is the total area of those that are completely within. If you go to statistics, here's the total area in square meters, sum. If you right click on the field and go to statistics, here's the area in square kilometers, 0.046. So it's a much smaller area that's impacted if you're asking what might be affected by using completely within. So the topological relationship, the select by location query that you choose is going to impact what your output will be. And so that's why it's important to know what you're asking and how you're asking it. And these are just two examples of how to query an attribute table using select by location, and explore how that selection that you choose influences the results.